I almost came down in shorts and a hat.
Shorts and a hat.
I was like, who's going to be here? It's Saturday. Sure. Is that what you're doing? You too? I think I broke it. But these are broken. I'm glad you kept them so far away. Yeah, toots. Oh, man. What's wrong with you? So?
Welcome guys, thank you for coming, EFM and Vijay newspapers. To start with, Russell Peters' Notorious Tour 2012-2013, going on for the last 21 months, and only surprisingly enough, tomorrow is going to be the last show of the whole tour that's been lasting for 21 months. And we're lucky to have him here, and let's welcome Russell Peters. And then at the head table, Kushani Nanaykar of Viscraft and Rashant Pereira from Museum Special Events. Let's go ahead.
What now happens?
I think we get to start with print questions.
Yeah, whatever you want.
So Russell, if tomorrow is the last show, how are you feeling about that?
It's bittersweet, kind of melancholy about the whole thing. You know, because the tour's been going for almost 2 years now. And it was probably my most successful tour, I would say. Would you say that, Toots? Most successful tour?
Longest, biggest.
There you go.
Highest attended.
Yeah, it's you know, it's one of those things where it's got to end, but at the same time you don't want it to end. But then I got to start writing a new act, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like your kid going off to school. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, I'll see you later. I'll make another kid in the meantime. I don't know if that's how it works.
Speaking of kids, what's fatherhood been like? I mean, your daughter is going to have a completely different childhood from yours, yeah?
I'd say so. I'm going to make sure she's tortured and does without. No, I like being a dad, and that's another thing. You know, this is the first tour I've been on where I didn't have my kid. I as a father, so it's been different. You know, you go through these periods where you FaceTime with her. We live in a good time now where you can FaceTime with your kid. And she's not even 3 yet, but still, she'll ignore me on FaceTime. Like, I'll just be sitting there staring at her, she'll just watching TV. I'm like, baby, I'm right here, and she might do this. And then she'll just go back to the TV. That's what kids do, I guess, right?
There's been a lot of talk also about the Kross, you doing so well, and I'm wondering what's the worst thing about being rich and famous?
Really, there is no downside to being rich and famous. You know, the worst thing about being rich and famous is not being rich and famous. I wish I could give you some sort of really insightful thing. Like, wow, I never thought of it like that. There's no downside. I mean, other than everybody asking you for money all the time. But I mean, that's going to happen regardless. You know what I mean? Whether I was broke, I'm sure my same friends would still be asking me, "Hey, man, you got $10?" But just the volume of money increases. From $20 to $25,000, you'll get asked for. You know what I mean?
So I read this great piece by Mohit Rajans. I think he's a friend of yours.
I don't know him.
And he talked about how you were one of those people that whenever you got an opportunity, you always wanted to give the other people that have stood by you one. Is loyalty kind of part of your code? Is that?
Well, I think it's something that a lot of people lack nowadays. We live in a time where you can just jump from thing to thing without any regard, and there's no payment for leaving somebody behind or switching up. Whether it's social media or what have you. I mean, MySpace was the thing to do about 8 years ago, and now nobody cares about MySpace. They laugh at it. But MySpace created a lot of people, and then you move on to Facebook, and then Twitter, and then Instagram. I mean, and nobody feels anything about leaving these things behind. And, I mean, these are just trivial things, but the same thing, and people do that with the real life. All the people around me have been around me for a long time. Like my security guys have been there. I mean, they weren't my security guys 30 years ago. They were just my friends, Yeah. And now they're my slaves. So I'm kidding. They don't get paid enough.
And like one of your favorite people is right at the back of the room. I'm wondering.
My brother.
Your brother. Was Toots Totally.
Just too-
Totally. You know, your first choice when you were thinking of a manager. I mean, was it?
Well,
was
yeah,
family
I
or-
didn't. At the time, I wasn't thinking about a manager because, you know, I wasn't thinking that this was going to happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I just wanted him to like help me and advise me. And initially, I asked him if he would be my assistant. And he was like, "I'm not gonna be your assistant. I'm your older brother. I can manage you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you do that?" And then here we are, eight years later, and things are okay. And I would say things are okay due to his business savvy. If it was up to me, I'd be showing up in countries for $10. First class flight, $10. I'm in. You know, it's not gonna happen.
Again, in like a couple of interviews, I've noticed that you talk about being an outsider and how you've always felt like one. I'm wondering now, despite this kind of indisputable success, is that still something you feel? Is that something that fuels your
No,
confidence?
you're always an outsider. I mean, there's always a way of breaking it down to you being an outsider. You know what I mean? Whether it's being a brown guy from Canada living in America, you know, or being an Indian guy in Sri Lanka. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we look like each other, but clearly we're not the same people.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka is a really clean India. Sri Lanka looks like what India would look like if we would just sweep every now and then.
Also, another quick question. I mean, with ADHD and again, when you were talking about in Call Me Russell, when you were writing about it, I mean, there's this idea of the school system that doesn't really understand it. But as a kid yourself, I mean, what was your understanding of what was happening?
I
with you?
didn't see. There was no description for it in the 70s and 80s. You know, there was no, "Oh, he's got ADD." They were just like, "The kid's stupid." You know, and now they have terms for everything. You know, you have this disorder and you have that. And, you know, I have acid reflux, and I think I've had it my whole life because I can honestly remember 5, 6 years old burping up and feeling fire in my throat, my eyes watering. But there was no acid reflux back then. It was just like, you're an idiot. You can't eat Indian food. You know what I mean? Drink some milk. That was the answer.
Drink milk.
Have some milk and you'll be fine. You know? And I honestly believe that's why Hindus don't eat cows. It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with acid reflux. That's where you get your milk from. And if you eat that, you're going to have heartburn for the rest of your life. So.
Again, in the book, you talk about this kind of chin check moment. Was it when you have all these boxing metaphors, but you talk about this moment where you were booed off stage.
1993.
You remember
June of
it.
1993.
Yeah.
That
So,
was it.
and you said it took you years to get over that. How did you
It-
actually
it-
get over that?
It's you know, even though that's 20 years ago, it's still mentally it's there. It can always happen. And that's my metaphor for boxing. I mean, the minute you ever get knocked down or knocked out, you have to decide if this is for you anymore. You know, and you get up and you go, all right, I'm gonna try this again. But if I get hurt again, there's a good chance I may bail on this. But you know, much like boxing, you keep your hands up, and if you dropped your hands in the past and you get knocked out, don't do it again because now you know that when you drop your hands, you're gonna get knocked out. So, you know, I always keep my hands up, and that's my metaphor for always writing the material and being, on stage and staying sharp.
You now with Notorious as well, you're laying it all out on the line. You've always, taken personal stuff and made comedy out of it. But other things that you will not laugh about, or that you
No, I mean, I will talk about anything. I just don't talk about religion because too many people are very sensitive about that, and I'm not a religious person, and I can't tell you you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm wrong and you're right, or what have you. I think I might have said the same thing twice there, but if that's what people choose to believe, I can't tell them. And people get mad if your opinion or your belief is one thing and theirs is something else. So I stay away from it just because who needs that drama in their life? I'm here to make you laugh, not make you doubt your belief system.
And I mean, you're always playing to stereotypes in a way. You're saying things that, as you said, that we all think but don't say.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember watching the one you did about Arabs, and there you were talking about how the media is stereotyping, and you were impatient
Well, yeah,
with it.
the media, especially in America, they show you what they want you to see of the world. This, I mean, like if they were to show you Sri Lanka, they wouldn't show you this.
Mm.
They're going to show you like some war zone that even you don't know where it is. You know what I mean? But they it's about propaganda. It's what they want you to see. And then when you go to places and you see the truth about them, you're like, I can't believe I didn't know this about these people. And that's why I think my act translated to so many different people around the world, because I've been to their places and I've seen how they actually live, and people appreciate somebody coming and telling the truth about them. Whether it's an awkward truth, but it's a funny truth and it's the truth,
Yeah. But can you do that now that you're
Yeah, you
a
can, of course.
recognizable face?
That's the good thing is I'm not that recognizable. I mean, even in India, people walking up to me thinking I was Russell Peters, and I'm just like, I'm not. Well, you gotta just put on the accent. So much like him.
Are you excited with what Netflix is doing with Notorious?
Oh yeah, Netflix has been great to me. I mean, it actually turned out to be an even better situation than I thought it would be. And I mean, that's just gravy as far as I'm concerned. I would love to keep doing business with Netflix. I think they're awesome. And I've never said that about any corporate thing in my life because I'm not a corporate guy at all. But Netflix really is a wonderful place to be.
Russell, where do you get the warmest welcome when you're traveling?
Sri Lanka. If my nose got any longer, it'd be tapping the microphone. Well, no, as soon as I got off the plane, I got laid by her. That means she put a big lay on me. L-E-I.
Last question. What is the rest of the year going to be like for you?
Well, after the show tomorrow, I'm off. I mean, it's all over. And
So how do you celebrate the end of the
you don't celebrate. That's the thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel, you know? It's one of those things where I know I got to start writing a new act, but I should probably enjoy a little time off. And, I'll hang out with my kid and I'll go do things that I've been wanting to do for the past little while. I'm going to go to the Soul Train Awards in Vegas next week. And then I'm going to go see a friend of mine fight in Florida in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to go do things for me for a little bit, and then I'll get my head back in the game and start working.
Any anxiety about that?
Always anxiety about that. I mean, you don't know what you're going to say. You don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm in my head. And so, yeah, it gets a little stressful. My brother knows that I get a little cranky in those times. He'll call me like, look, I don't know, all right? He's like, look, we have a date for such and such. I'm like, I'm not ready. And I get kind of bitchy. I just do. But he understands now. I mean, this is the fourth time that fourth or fifth time we're writing a new act, and fourth time since we've been together. And I mean, so but I think this last time I wasn't as grumpy, was I? I was pretty relaxed. I was very happy to be back, and I think I'm going to be the same way. But it's kind of like one of those things where I thought Notorious was pretty good, so I gotta follow that up with something as good or better, and that's where the stress comes in.
Thank you.
Your last tour in Sri Lanka in 2005.
That is correct.
What do you think is different about being here this time? Why wasn't the hype so much?
When I came 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there was a little hype. I don't remember where I played even. It was some sort of polo club or something? A golf club. I think it was some sort of club. It was really cool. I mean, it was a very warm reception then, and I was still relatively unknown. But, I mean, it's been 8 years. I mean, you have a highway now, which is pretty good. I mean, I don't think anybody's told the dogs that they're not supposed to live on the highway yet. Like literally sleeping in the middle of the lanes of traffic. I'm like, oh my God, is that dog dead? No, he's just sleeping. People just driving around him. I'm like, it's a highway. It's a brand new highway. Who let the dogs out?
What do you like off stage? Like, say, when you're not with the media or when you're...
I'm not much different than the way I am right now. Probably a little, I'm kind of this way. What do you say, Toots?
You're a less amped up.
I'm a less amped up version of me. A lot of times I just sit there and don't do anything. Because I'm thinking my brain is just rotating all the time.
And what do you like as a dad?
I'm a horrible father. I'm abusive. I'm a big puss with my daughter. Like I wish I was I wish I could be more firm with her, but I can't. I try. I'm the pushover. My daughter knows it. You know what I mean? She will only act up with me because she knows I'm the only one who will give in to whatever she says.
And just at the mention of the word Sri Lanka, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
Camel's Irish. First thing that comes to my head is Sri Lanka? I don't know. I just think of like the ocean and the beaches and stuff. That's immediately what I picture when I picture Sri Lanka. I picture an island paradise.
Thanks.
No.
Do you feel that comedy has taken a twist now that audiences have access to unlimited comic material on the internet? And has it made your job that much harder?
Well, I mean, I don't know if comedy's taken a twist, but I mean, the accessibility of comedy is taking a twist. Comedy stays the same. Your thing, I think, has stopped working. Whatever this is.
Oh, that's fine. I got it back.
Oh well. Just died or something.
Are there any up and coming comedians that you know of?
There's so many comics out there. I mean, there's so many comedians out there now, and
Anyone that
here's what the problem is with a lot of the young comics now, is that they don't want to put the road work in that the older guys like myself. I've been doing 24 years, so I mean, we did gigs for years, completely, literally years. I mean, 15 years I did gigs, basically unknown, showing up in places where it's not a comedy club, it's a bar, and you know, people are just there on a Saturday night having dinner, and then all of a sudden some jackass is on stage swearing into a microphone, you know. So you know, these are the gigs that shape you and make you a better comic. These are the road gigs that determine how dedicated you are to this game. And a lot of guys just see where I am or where other comics are who are relatively successful. But they just figure, oh, I did comedy 3 times, and they dump their stuff on YouTube and think, oh, I'm a star on YouTube, I got 100 hits. You're like, no, stupid. That's not where you learn how to do comedy. You learn how to do comedy in front of humans.
What is your actual opinion on YouTube? Because I mean, it works both ways for you.
It's a double-edged sword for me. You know what I mean? It's what made me. It didn't make me who I am, but it made me what I am today. You know what I mean? So it made me very successful, and at the same time, I got to be careful of when I got to monitor it to make sure my new material doesn't end up on there. Because you know, why would you watch something? Why would you pay for something if you can watch it for free? And with the live performance, I hate when people saw something that they should not have seen, and then they come to the show and go, oh, you did the same thing I saw before. I'm like, you weren't supposed to see that. You know, so I do my shows, and it's not for the person who's seen me 5 and 6 times or has watched me over and over. If you saw Notorious and then you come to see Notorious live, you can't complain that I did the same act. It's the same tour. You know what I mean? Look at the name, dummy. You know what I mean? Don't be notoriously stupid. No, sorry. I'm tired today, and it's his fault. That sounds gay. Hold on.
Did you forget any of your jokes on the tour?
Oh yeah, all the time. Here's the thing: I recorded Notorious in March of earlier this year, and I maintained doing the act, and then once it aired on Netflix, some part of my brain goes, "You should probably delete that now." And so when I first got out on the tour with this leg started 2 days after Notorious aired on Netflix. So, I mean, I knew it hadn't aired in these countries that I'm going to, but at the same time, my artistic brain is going, you know, there's a good chance people have seen this already. And I'm like, what do I do? And they're like, just wing it, you know? And then after a while, you realize that not as many people have seen it as you think they have, and they probably shouldn't have seen it. So, do your act, and it's coming back. I mean, it's come back to me, and it'll be the last time I do it tomorrow, sadly.
So what's been your inspiration now that, I mean, earlier it was your dad, and now what is your...
I mean, now it's still my dad. I mean, it's my daughter. When I write, I write my act. Well, I don't physically write down anything, except for this. I wrote, go fuck yourself to him. While he was talking. And then I go queer. I don't know why, but... my inspiration is just to, you know, I think about my daughter's future, I think about my future, I think about my legacy and stuff like that, so I don't want to fall off. And I think after 24 years, you know, you'd have to really not care in order to fall off now. But I care still, and I love doing what I do, so I think that's my motivation.
Do you find yourself being your dad to your daughter?
I find myself being my dad more than I thought I'd be my dad. My brother makes fun of me all the time for it, because, you know, I have some very dad-like qualities now.
And does the accent come on as well when it's still...
I do it to my daughter sometimes. She doesn't even get it, but she'll be ignoring me. I'm like, hello, hello, hello. Nothing. And then sometimes she'll go, hello, hello, hello. And I'm like, that's amazing that she copied me. She doesn't even know that she's copying me. She's copied me.
What are the jokes that you're incredibly tired of?
somebody's gonna get hurt real bad. It's funny because, you know, even being like any of the old stuff I'm pretty much tired of, you know what I mean? And the funny thing about somebody's gonna get hurt real bad is that it's been around for 10 years and people still misquote it. Hey Russell, somebody's getting hurt. Somebody's hurting the. Hey, you're gonna get a beating. What? I never even said that.
The question in Sri Lanka with somebody's going to get hurt tonight.
There's always somebody messing it up. I'm like, man, I am not going to say it for you.
Do you have a pre-performance ritual?
No, I just chill out and I try not to talk to anybody before the show because I figure the less I talk to somebody, the more I will have stuff to say when I get on stage.
What would you say, or at least where would you say you had the, I don't know where that question was asked. What was your lowest point in your career? The lowest point?
I mean, when I taped the special in 2003, the one that everybody discovered on the internet, at that time I was broke, like dead ass broke, like in debt broke. Zero. I had zero, negative in the bank, and I owed lots of money to lots of different people. And they paid me $7,500 for that show. And as soon as I got the check, I just signed it and gave it away because I was still broke and a little bit less in debt. And I think for the next few months, I was really broke. And my brother and I lived together then, and I had no money. My brother was paying the mortgage because I had no money coming in. So I mean, that was a pretty down time. But literally, it was the lowest I got, and then it didn't just it didn't slowly gradually, it just skyrocketed upwards, and you know, the rest is all history.
What do your relatives think of your impressions of them?
I don't know. I don't really go, hey, what'd you think of that? You know.
Did you ever get told off for it?
No. Not my family. They're pretty cool.
What would you say was the highest point of your career? That's when you realized I'm a rock star now.
I still don't kind of buy it. You know what I mean? So in my head, I'm kind of like, sometimes I forget. Like I'll be out and somebody will be staring at me, and in my head, I'm like, fuck that guy looking at me. Because you know, people don't stare in like a way like. Sometimes people like, they're trying to figure you out, but they're giving you read it as a look of they're looking at you like, who are you? And I'm like in my head, who the fuck are you? Right? And then I'm like, all right, yes. My friends are like, no, stupid. They know who you are. I'm like, oh right, yes, okay. You know, so it still hasn't. I don't really. I haven't drank the Kool-Aid on that one yet.
This is a question from one of our listeners, actually, from EFM itself. You mentioned this in your book, and he says, I read that he dated Sunny Leone.
I did.
Ask him what that was like.
It was fantastic. What do you think it would be?
Ask him to elaborate.
Here's the thing with Sunny. She was an awesome chick. Like, we were friends for a couple of years before we ever dated. And it just so happened that we became single at the same time. And we were hanging out, and we liked hanging out with each other. And it didn't work out for, I don't remember what reason. Oh, I remember the reason. She had re-signed. When I dated her, she only did girl-on-girl movies, and I was like, "That's great." Because if you feel like bringing your work home, go ahead, sweetheart. But she had re-signed her contract to do guys, and I was like, "Yeah, we're probably not gonna work out." Because I believe I said that she was trying to explain to me that it was, it's just work, and I'm like, "That's not just really work." I mean, when most women come home from a hard day at work, their feet are sore.
Last but not least, can you do us at EFM the biggest favor and read that out for us?
Oh, this is the shout out you want?
Yeah,
Everybody
that's right.
What does that say? The morning show.
Graham. The morning show, Graham.
Oh, like program, but it's a pun.
Yeah.
That's a terrible name.
That's me.
Hey, this is Russell Peters on the morning showgram. Easily the worst name in the history of morning shows. They're putting funny first, and puns apparently before funny. Good?
No. Read it word for word.
Bad one?
You are a radio friend.
That's a
one.
terrible one.
I know.
Do you want me to say my name?
Yes.
Hey, this is Russell Peters on the morning showgram. Putting funny first, or are they?
We can edit that. No.
There you go. As long as I say it.
Thank you.
very much.
Bald man? Nothing? Other bald man? Your head looks like a knuckle. That's it? Where are the other people at?
I can make up some questions real quick.
Yeah.
Print and radio, and they're done. So thank you very much for coming. Thanks,
One more
guys.
thing, Russell. Here's a pen, and if you could just do a little number on that for
Do
me.
you have a Sharpie?
Yeah, I do.
No, do you have a Sharpie?
Oh no, I don't. No.
Anybody have a Sharpie?
No.
Where, no, none of them? Oh, that's good. Good security thing. No, this works.
Thank you very much.
You son of a What do you want me to say? To you? Just your name?
Just anyway, it's Katu. KATU.
Oh man, I should
It's gonna be a late thing.
I should have asked that at the beginning of the show. How do you spell it? Our pilot's name was, what was the name? Poo-Boo? 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 Yeah.